If I were to ask you to be a character actor and portray what it is to be embarrassed, could you reach inside your mind to think of a story that is part of your past that automatically makes you feel embarrassed? I know I can. I know if I do it really well, you'll see my ears turn red. All I have to do is think about my best friend. We were best friends from the age of 14, from the time we used to go off and put bay and out into the vineyards and play pinball. And when he asked me to be his best man, I was honored. There was a lot of emotion associated with that. And when I got to the point in his wedding of delivering the toast, I totally blew it. I was so overcome with emotion that I kind of babbled something. I'm not even sure what it was. But immediately there was this sense of, a sense of shame, a sense of, damn, you blew it. And along with that, there were a lot of physical things going on in my body. I could feel the constriction. Everything was like, oh. I could feel my heart closing. And it was just because I was making all these stories about what had just happened, and I was playing them already. And all I have to do now is, if I want to think of embarrassment, pull up that story. Immediately, I begin to feel that constriction in the heart. Now, we don't talk a whole lot in the West about our inner energy. When you have an experience like that, you can feel your inner energy change. You can feel it shift. You can feel the heart closing. What we do talk about in the West is conversion of coal and oil to wind and sun. We talk about energy drinks that help us get us through the day. We talk about the PX90 workout that's going to get you the energy in your body to help you be strong. We talk about the Hadron Collider in Switzerland that looks at the minutest of quantum particles to measure the energy there and to prove that the Higgs boson actually exists. We're always about out there. When we look to the east, it's a little bit different. There's a much stronger focus about the internal world. I know that when I teach yoga, and we get to the point at the end of doing the different postures or asanas, and we go through a session where it's kind of like a meditation, I talk about bringing your awareness inward and getting used to that movement inward. And what we find over time is that we have an incredible, unlimited source of love and energy and enthusiasm in our core. Sometimes it's called chi, sometimes it's called shakti, sometimes it's just called spirit. But we all have it, each and every one of us. Now, when we seem to experience it is when we really do get inspired about something or when we fall in love. And what happens is time slows down. We have incredible energy. We don't care if we eat. Sleep, we don't care. We'll be all up all night talking. That energy is there for each and every one of us. Usually when we experience it is when we have a major energy shift. And Michael Singer gives a wonderful example in his Untethered Soul of a young man who went through a breakup with his girlfriend. He was just so upset about the whole thing. He became very depressed. All he wanted to do was sleep. You could look at his apartment, it was a wreck. The only thing there were pizza boxes all around. That was the only way that you knew that he would eat. His friends wanted him to go out with them. He just didn't want to. And then one day, about 3 months after the breakup, his old girlfriend called him. And she said, I made such a mistake. I've come to know just how much I miss you and how important you are in my life. Can I come and see you? All of a sudden, he's filled with energy. He shaves, he showers, he cleans up the apartment. He can't wait to see her. The door opens, she comes in. They talk all night long. They're filled with that incredible energy. That energy that is in our heart, that is at our source. So why don't we feel that energy all the time? Because we close our hearts. We experience an experience that is difficult or uncomfortable. And instead of allowing the heart to stay open and just to experience it, we close the heart to protect ourselves. Or we experience something that is really dynamic, really good, and we want to hold on to it. We don't want to let it go. We just want to keep experiencing it. So we hold on to it and we interrupt that energy, that flow of heart energy. Or we come into conflict, we come into opposition with somebody, and we have to be right. Instead of allowing the energy of peace to flow through us, we block it. So, in the East, they call it a samskara. A samskara is when we block the energy that is flowing through us and that's associated with a particular event. And when we block that, we close the heart. And any time in the future, when something that looks even vaguely like that event comes up, that samskara comes up and we feel the same energy. When I asked you to remember what it was like to an event that was embarrassing, did you feel the same energy? It's like a samskara. It's a knot of energy. And we want to release that. So when we close the heart, we don't allow that energy. Now, in 2011, the day before Valentine's Day, I experienced the beginning of a very powerful samskara for me. This is the Celtic knot for father-daughter. I had an argument with my then 14-year-old, turned into a yelling match. And the short and long of it was, she stopped talking to me. Now, if you know my history, I come from a family where I had a father that was totally non-participative, never said I loved you, never came to any of the events that I participated in. He was absent. He was an alcoholic. So for me, being a good dad was a big deal. When she stopped talking to me, I started playing all of these tapes that said, I'm a good dad. That reminded me of, oh, you read her bedtime stories until she was 12 years old, and she finally said, Dad, that's enough, I'm 12. We went to Indian Princesses from the time she was in kindergarten until 7th grade. I was at all her baseball games, at all her volleyball games. I was at all her basketball games. I went to all the parent-teacher conferences, and I gave her all sorts of positive feedback. I told her I loved her. I was a good dad. Those were the stories. That was the tape. The multiple tapes that I kept playing every time I thought of this situation. And then one day, a dear friend of mine who I was talking to about this gave me a tool. And this tool was a prayer to release myself. And it went like this. I release you into your wholeness. I forgive you. I forgive myself. I give you permission to forgive me. I give you permission to forgive yourself. And every time the thoughts of my daughter came up, and the thoughts of, oh, you're a good dad, every time the tapes slipped in the player, I release you into your fullness. I forgive you. I forgive myself. I give you permission to forgive me. I give you permission to forgive myself, yourself. About a year after starting this, something amazing happened. And it was called forgiveness. It was a release. All the stories were gone. There was no need for any outcome to happen. There was just this incredible inflow of love. I have never loved my daughter more. We still haven't reconciled, but that doesn't matter. One of the things on her agenda when she came to this planet was to teach her father how to forgive. She's done that. If we never talk again, she's done that. So how do we keep the heart open? It's a choice. It's a definitive choice. When we begin to feel that constriction, when we begin to feel ourselves latching onto an event or pushing it away, we have a choice. We can keep the heart open and allow ourselves to experience that. Or we can close off, interrupt the energy flow, and create another samskara that becomes like a biomemory in our tissues. It's our choice. But first you need to have that awareness. You need to bring yourself into a place where you're paying attention to what's going on inside. Some time ago, I was in a relationship. It was a very powerful relationship, but it was also very rocky. There was a lot of headbutting, and we came to a place one day where we were just going back and forth, and I said, can't you give me some time so we can just talk? Finally, I got this text back that was like, all right, I'll give you an hour. I'll be there at blah, blah, blah. And I knew what that hour was going to be. That hour was going to be breaking up. So that day, in the afternoon, I pulled up a blank Word document. And every time I thought of what that relationship had brought me, of what I was grateful for in that relationship, I put it in there. And I'd go back to my work, and then another thought would come up, and I'd put another one in there. I'd go back to work and put another one on there. And then when we got together, I looked at her and I said, the most important thing is that we come out on the other side of this feeling positive about one another. And in order to do that, we need to keep our hearts open. And then I began to read the list. Weeks later, she told me that when I did that, she got this thought, oh, he's just trying to manipulate me. He's trying to prevent this breakup from happening. And then, as I continued on, she realized there was no attachment to outcome. This was just gratitude. Complete gratitude. Nothing attached to it. And what happened is this drew us into a place where all the stories stopped. There was no focus on all the things that we were headbutting on. There was a focus on gratitude. And when that happened, our hearts opened. And there was this powerful flow of love and recognition of how much we cared about one another. And the breakup didn't happen. Amazing things happen when you open your heart. I had a situation at work where I was looking at the billing system. There were issues, there were problems. The data was wrong, it was mislabeled, it had the wrong program numbers on it. And I got together with 3 other individuals to talk about this and how are we going to fix this. And what I found out after the meeting is that one of the people in that meeting who was responsible for some of the errant data took great offense to how I had portrayed it, even though it was simply factual without any finger pointing. So I came up to her afterwards when she was standing at the copier and I said, I think we need to do some fence mending. And she looked at me and she said, get away, get away. wow, what is this? But I didn't latch onto it. I didn't take it personally. And what happened is I kept my heart open. And every morning when I would come in, I'd say good morning to her. Every time I passed her in the hall, I would ask her how she was doing. Every time I left at night, I would say good night. For 6 weeks, every time I said that, it was ignored. And then one day, all of a sudden, she started saying good morning again. She started saying good night when she left. She started recognizing me when I passed her in the hall. And now, when she has an issue with the copier, I know where she comes. She comes to my desk. When she needs help, she comes to my desk. Because the power of love is unstoppable. If you refuse to accept the story, if you refuse to come into a place of opposition, if you choose peace instead of being right, the power of love will win out. Now, there's another tool that helps put you in a place that helps keep the heart open, and that's called meditation and yoga. Because it brings you into the moment. It helps you be more aware of that inner space, of what's going on inside. It helps you be clearer about your thoughts. It helps you pay attention when you do begin to push away something or latch on to something. And it gives you that moment of choice. That moment when you can choose, do I want to keep my heart open? Or do I want to push back? Or do I want to hold on? Make the decision that there is nothing so important in this world that you will allow your heart to close. So my charge for you is this. If you would like your heart to remain open, if you would like to feel all the love that courses through you and it comes infinitely from that source and is inexhaustible, make the choice to keep your heart open. Make the choice not to hold on to things that are really great, but let them go because there are going to be a million other that are going to come your way. Make the choice not to push back because something is uncomfortable. Keep your heart open. Witness it. Don't attach to it. Let it go. Don't have to be right. Choose peace instead. Know forgiveness. Because in forgiveness, you free yourself. That is your choice. Choose. Choose well.